This video is about converting units. Before you can convert unit prefixes, you first have to memorize all of the unit prefixes, but they follow a nice easy pattern. With the exception of centi, the order of magnitude goes up by 3 every time you go up this list, and down by 3 every time you go down this list. There are 2 steps to converting unit prefixes. Step number 1 is to get rid of whatever prefix is already there. And step number 2 is to replace it with what you want. And I'll use this number as an example to start with. So here we have a length A equals to 28.5 millimeters. This is equivalent to 28.5 times 10 to the negative 3 meters. Now the clever part is that I can multiply this number by 1 and it doesn't change. And that the unit prefix as a letter is equivalent to the unit prefix as an order of magnitude. So using nano as an example, dividing nano by 10 to the negative 9 gives you the number 1. Because whenever you divide something by itself, that's what you get, the number 1. So if, for example, I want to present this number in nanometers, then all I have to do is multiply it by nano divided by 10 to the negative 9. Remember that 10 to the negative 9 on the denominator is the same as 10 to the 9 on the numerator. So I want nanometers, so I multiply this number by the number 1. And instead of writing 1, I'm going to write 10 to the power of 9 nano, which is the same thing as 1. 10 to the minus 3 times 10 to the 9 is 10 to the 6. That's because 9 minus 3 is 6. So my answer is 28,500,000 nanometers. Or in standard form, 2.85 times 10 to the 7 nanometers. Let's do that again, where I convert a time, 1.5 picoseconds, into microseconds. First of all, I'll get rid of that pico. Then I'll multiply my number by 1, where 10 to the 6 micro is 1. Remember that micro is 10 to the minus 6, so 10 to the 6 times 10 to the minus 6 is 1. That way I haven't actually changed the number, but I've now included the prefix micro. And finally, because 6 minus 12 is minus 6, I can tidy up my order of magnitude. When you get quick at this, you can cut out some steps. You can see, for example, pico, which is 10 to the negative 12, is exactly the same as 10 to the negative 6 multiplied by micro, which is 10 to the negative 6. So to get from pico to micro, we have to go twice up this list, which means we have to first of all multiply by 10 to the negative 3 to go up once, then multiply by another 10 to the negative 3 to go up again. This technique also works where you've got composite units like watt-hours or kilowatt-hours in this case. Kilowatt-hours is the same as times 10 to the 3 watt-hours. If for some strange reason I wanted centi-watt-hours, I don't know why I'd ever want that, but let's imagine I do, then I would multiply my number by 1. And 1 in this case, because I want centi, which is 10 to the negative 2, would be 10 to the 2 multiplied by centi. And that gives me 7.5 times 10 to the 5 centi-watt-hours. Let's do another conversion for speed now, 2.9 centimeters per microsecond. Let's just convert that into meters per second. So first of all, I want to get rid of the centi, which is 10 to the negative 2. But then we have to be careful, because although it isn't shown clearly in this notation, the micro as well as the seconds is all raised to the power of minus 1. So that's not micro 10 to the minus 6, that's micro to the minus 1. And that's in seconds to the minus 1. So now what we can do is tidy up these powers of 10. First of all, I've moved the meters so it's joined with the per seconds, and I've multiplied through here by my power of minus 1 to get 10 to the 6. And now I just add my exponents up. And in standard form we have 2.9 times 10 to the 4 meters per second. As long as this part of the number is a mantissa or a significand, then your answer will fall out in standard form, which is quite helpful. Let's suppose we wish to convert 3.1 square meters into square centimeters. Well, what we want is some answer with centimeters squared at the end. But remember that the centi part will also be squared. So you can see here I've multiplied once by centi divided by 10 to the minus 2. Because centi is equal to 10 to the minus 2, that hasn't actually changed the number at all, but it's given me 1 centi on the numerator here. But I need 2 of those, so I've got to do it again. And now we can just tidy up our powers of 10 and our centis. Well, we don't usually write centi squared meters squared. By convention, we just write centimeters squared. But that is what we mean by that. So this notation can cause confusion. But this is what we mean by it. Centimeters squared, the centi is also squared. And that's the reason why I prefer to say square centimeters rather than centimeters squared, because the centi part is also squared. And there we have our answer, 3.1 times 10 to the 4 square centimeters. Converting areas and volumes can be tricky, but as long as you practice and you remember that the prefix is also raised to the same power as the unit the prefix accompanies, then you'll be fine.